The old-fashioned. I'm going to show you the old-fashioned two separate ways. There are two separate old-fashions, one from 1806 and one from Prohibition era, 1930s. So a lot of times you'll get requested for this cocktail. It's often great when you can get clarity of what they're expecting. So let me show you them both right now. The first we're gonna make is the old-fashioned in the glass, which is the Prohibition style. There you're gonna start with either a sugar cube or a little bit of sugar. And we're gonna drop that sugar right in. Next up, you would get the cherry. You can usually use a bright red cherry on this. We're dropping the cherry in. The orange. And finally, you're gonna use your bitters here. 2 to 3 good dashes of bitters. And this is where you would muddle this. And as I muddle it, I'm crushing all the flavors together. So you can see the white sugar turning brown. You can see the cherry breaking up and the orange expressing as well. Next up, we would start to build our cocktail. And in the old-fashioned here, we would do 1.5 ounces of bourbon. Now here's a question you always ask your guest is, would you like a bourbon or a rye with that? So we're gonna go with the bourbon here for us. We're gonna go 1.5 ounces. One and a half ounces are in. I'm going to ice up the glass. And I am going to stir. The old-fashioned is always stirred. You're looking at about 10 to 12 good stirs here. What I'm trying to do is making sure that I'm bringing the sugar up all throughout the cocktail here. So this would be my old-fashioned Prohibition style. And the reason why that some of our older cruisers like it so much is it's what they know, it's what they grew up on. It originally comes from a time where they were trying to hide inferior spirits. Now our spirits are really wonderful, but Prohibition times, they would hide it, so they would throw in the sugar, they would muddle orange, they would muddle cherry, and this is a Prohibition style of an old-fashioned. Let's go to the old-fashioned of 1806, the original cocktail old-fashioned. So with our original old-fashioned, what I'd like to do is I'd like to build everything in a mixing glass. And as I do that, I'm going to start off with a little simple syrup. And I'm going to go 1/2 ounce of that. Simple syrup is in. Again, I would ask, would you like a rye? Would you like a bourbon? We'll stick with the bourbon here. We're going to go 1.5 ounces of the bourbon. So 3 ingredients here. The third being the bitters, adding depth to the cocktail. Now we're going to ice this up. As we ice it up, we're going to stir here. We'll slowly work that spoon to the bottom. And as you see, when you're working in a mixing glass or sometimes even your tin, it's much easier. What we're looking for here is for the drink to start to rise. That is the dilution of it. The dilution is meaning that water is added to the drink. Now, if we overstir or we overshake, that becomes a bruising. But here we have the dilution. This is what we want to see. We're now going to put a julep strainer over the top. We have another rocks glass, also known as an old-fashioned glass. To ice that up, we're going to pour in our cocktail. And finally, we're going to take an orange peel. And we know our spirits today are wonderful, beautiful. This cocktail is going to highlight whether it's a bourbon or rye. Rye is going to be a spicy cocktail. Bourbon's going to be a little sweeter. We like to do at Princess Cruises is take our orange and not only do the top part, but also do the side a little bit. So you get that beautiful orange feel on your hands. That nose is gorgeous every time you drink it. We're going to put this right in. And these are the two Old Fashions. And I'm very interested to see which one's going to be your favorite. Cheers.